Welcome to the Community Collective Podcast, a flip-flop agent production in collaboration with the Davison Area Chamber of Commerce. I am your host, Johnny B. Good. Welcome back to another episode of the Community Collective Podcast. I am your host, Johnny B. Good, and I am joined with my very, very special co-host on this sunny March afternoon, Mr. Travis Howell, the phenomenal executive director for the Davison Area Chamber of Commerce. Travis, how are you doing today, my friend?
I am doing great. You know, the sun is shining and I get to enjoy working in Davison. So you can't go wrong with that. So, Johnny, I am so glad to be joining you today. And I actually am really excited about our guest today, our State Senator Kevin Daley, which actually I have known Kevin since, oh goodness, about 2008 is when we first met. So just a few years. So Kevin, welcome to the Community Collective today.
Oh, great. Glad to be here. And you're right. It's a beautiful sunshiny day, and it sounds like we're in for even better weather the next few days, back up in the 40s, and maybe even we'll see some 50s again. So bye-bye snow.
That's right. I am totally ready to just be outside and get my kids outside even more. So we have a lot of questions that we like to cover, but one of the ones that I think a lot of our listeners are fascinated by are what is your background?
Yeah, so background, I'm a farm boy, come from Lapeer County. Of course, for those that know, I'm new in Davison, new in Genesee County, and my district, I've been a senator for the last 4 years, but districts changed with redistricting. I did cover Lapeer, Tuscola, and Bay counties in their entirety. And with redistricting, I was removed from Bay County and lost half of Tuscola County. So I now only have about half of Tuscola County. I have almost all Lapeer County. I have a really big chunk of Saginaw County, and I have a pretty good chunk of Genesee County as well, the northern strip of townships, and wraps around to Davison. I take in Genesee Township, and I go down into a little bit of Burton. So, but background, yeah, I've been a farmer my entire life. That's what got me involved in politics at back when I was a young guy in the farm, and got me into township government. And I ended up serving on township government for 24 years before I ran for the state house back in 2008 when Travis and I first ran into each other. But farming's been my life. Dairy farmer. I call myself a recovering dairy farmer. So dairy cows are gone now, but I've still got cattle, still got beef cattle, still do some crops, and it keeps us busy. But I think it's important to have people that understand all acts of life. We need people. We need guys like Johnny B. Good too to be interested in the communities and consider serving in office. And so I think it's important that we have those. And I think I've got a side of me that's different than a lot of different people that are involved in the legislature.
No, I know over the years I've gotten to know you. I've always been really fascinated by your family farm. If I believe right, it's a centennial farm, and it's been your family for a good while then,
100,
right?
it'll be 1881, so it's 142 years this year. So if
Oh,
I can stay on this earth for another 8 years, we'll have another big party. We had one at 100 years, and we had one at 125, and so we're going to aim for the 100 and a half here in another 8 years. So we'll have a big
oh
party,
my
and maybe
goodness.
we'll include the Davison Chamber Director in there. So yeah.
Hey, I won't complain. I mean, that's one of the first interactions I had was you taking me to your farm after doing some doors and showing me your barn and some of the animals. So that's always been. I grew up in Kentucky with grandparents that farmed, so I was always the volunteer help with whether it was wrangling pigs into their stalls or bush hogging. So I definitely I appreciate all that you do as a farmer, but now even more, you're putting yourself out there over the past several years as an elected official, serving good, huge portions of our region. So, what is it like for you? I mean, you are an elected official, but you still farm. What is a day like when you're doing all of these things?
Well, and I'm one of the guys. I'm about an hour and 20 minutes from from home to Lansing. So I commute on a daily basis. Some members don't, but I do commute every day. And so my day in Lansing, of course, you know, Travis, how this works because you worked over here for several years and you commuted, I believe, every day too, because the family was at home. Not quite as far as I did, but an hour and 20 minutes one way for me. And so my day starts out in the morning. I get up about 5, and first I take care of things at home. So I go out and check the cattle and feed the cattle, and then come in and get myself cleaned up, get a little breakfast, and head to Lansing. Try to get over here by 8 o'clock in the morning, and then it's session starts at 10 o'clock. So we may have a couple meetings in the morning before session. Tuesday mornings we'll have a staff meeting, and then a session will vary anywhere from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. Yesterday, session started at 10 o'clock and we finished up at about 6:30 last night. So you just never know from day to day what it's going to be. And of course, scheduled meetings and different things during the day. And then, of course, we have Mondays and Fridays that are not in Lansing, generally speaking, unless they're meetings that are different than the regular session days. But mostly those days are designed for in-district meetings and traveling. When you cover that large of a district in a Senate, especially, you spend a lot of road time driving. When I've got to travel over to the west side of Saginaw County or the northwest corner of Genesee County, and even at the northern edge of Tuscola County, it's the distances for me to travel are probably about an hour and a half to my farthest part of my district. So we just try to schedule those meetings in the smartest way we can and get out and answer questions and work with people and meet with constituents and try to keep our I guess the pulse on what's going on in our communities.
Well, and I'm sure it's helpful when you have a good team to help you out to keep track of everything that's going on and everything that people are contacting your office about, I'm sure too.
It's no different than any occupation. That's what really it is. It's surrounding yourself with good people that answer phones professionally and can help people get through the problems. That's one of the largest part of our job here is to help. Unfortunately, with the bureaucracy of government and working in these offices, you understand this, no doubt, Travis, as well. The intricacies of helping people get through the red tape that it takes to get through state offices. A lot of people don't understand that if you have an issue with the state government, call either your state representative or your state Senate office and ask them for help because unfortunately, a perfect example is unemployment, especially during COVID. The phone was ringing off the wall, and it's unfortunate that anytime you have a problem with unemployment anymore, it doesn't seem like you can pick up a phone and call an office and get somebody to talk to. You have to go through the electronic way, but call your legislator's office and ask them for help. And unfortunately, we have a back door window that we can make a phone call and get a hold of people, and a lot of times get the thing rolling in the right direction. At least get people in touch with an individual instead of a computer. The bottom line is the staff that's ability to make all that work and to schedule all these events and everything for us.
And I agree. It is one where I have another organization in our community that I'm part of, and we had a couple quick questions about some of the extra ARPA money or money the state has. And I called your office and talked to one of your staff members, and they're helping research a little bit of information for our other organizations. So that's what they're there for. It's great to see. I think that's what people need to realize is our elected officials are there to help. Their staff is there to make life hopefully better or help find an avenue to just help answer some questions, which is great. This is what you want elected office to be for.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So Kevin, I know you have experience in so many different areas, but one thing I'm sure a lot of people are interested in are what are some of the legislative focuses that you really or topics that you are working towards are part of there in Lansing?
It's a new session, obviously, so things are getting kicked into place, and the way things work over here, they have a controlling party, and the Republicans have controlled the Senate for about 40 years, and this term it changed, and the Democrats control it. So it's not as easy to make your priorities go forward. But we had one bill in particular that we worked on last term that we didn't quite get over overrule with is a local issue, as a matter of fact, which are, in my opinion, the best issues to work on, where you can actually be helpful to local people. And my background in agriculture, this is a PA 116, which is Farmland Preservation Act piece of legislation that deals with a farmer that has purchased a piece of land that he puts in the program PA 116, which will preserve that farmland, but he needs to get a small piece out, and the law needs to be changed so that there is ability to get that out. And we've got all the players. The department is behind it. The Treasury is behind it. We had that all together last time, but we just couldn't get it over to the House in time to get it passed through and get it to the governor's desk. So we've started working on that. We're also working on a couple of bills that came from the district as well, and that's about guiding for and we're in the very early stage of this, but I'm teaming up with Senator Cherry, which is another Genesee County, the other Genesee County, big Genesee County senator, and we've split two bills up together to requiring a license for guides for hunting and fishing. There's two different bills, one for hunting and one for fishing, because currently those positions, anybody could just call themselves a guide and go do it. And the DNR is having some trouble getting the numbers they need to know how to manage the animals that these people are taking and the fish that they're taking. So they want the guides to be, it's a very small fee involved in these legislation to have them registered with them so they know who they are, and ask them to report what they're doing each year. It does have a requirement in there that they take some first aid in case they're out guiding some people out hunting and somebody, goes down with a heart attack or falls out of a tree or trips over something and breaks a leg. They've got the minimum of what's necessary to help the people in that case. So we're working on those bills together. And my background is agriculture. That's my heart and soul. And I'm working hard on that. I've been chair of the Ag Committee the whole time I've been here. That now I'm the vice chair, the minority vice chair. So trying to work with the chair there to make sure that the ag issues are covered across the state, number 2 industry in our state. And I think it's important. It's not just farmers anymore. It's everybody out there and all the different avenues. So that's kind of what I'm working on.
Well, I think it's amazing. I think over the years when I've been able to get to know you, that you really listen to the people in your district for ideas, and that's where some of the best ones will come from. But then I think when the things I've noticed a lot is your willingness to work across the aisle to make sure it's an issue that's important to everybody can be covered, and show that it's important to work together just to improve the efficiency and hopefully the lives of people throughout the state, which is great. And you gave some, amazing examples. I'm sure there's always new things that can be looked at, but it is, I think, in Lansing and anywhere, having a passion for something you have a background in and working with others is the ultimate goal in a lot of things.
The key is, Travis, it's common sense. It's what it really is. And that's what we don't have a lot of anymore, because we need to have some common sense when you need to get down to the basics. And I want to tell you real quick, probably the piece of legislation that I passed in my last term that I was the most proud of came from a district office hours meeting when the people come in, and it was a lady, if you're familiar with type 1 diabetes at all, but it was a case where people couldn't, everybody knows about the problems getting insulin for diabetics, and the situation being with you have type 1 diabetics, they're walking around with a pump on all the time, putting insulin in when they need it, and they've got alarms that go off and everything. And these people were having some issues with if they happen to break a vial of insulin and they couldn't get a hold of their doctor on a holiday weekend or something, they go to their to pick up more insulin and they can't get it because they can't get a prescription, and the pharmacist won't give them a prescription fill. So we're successful. We got a bill passed that would allow them to, in emergency situations, their pharmacists that they work with on a regular basis can give them a filling for their insulin. And there's actually been people in Ohio, a young man that happened to him. He was insulin dependent, type 1 diabetic, and he broke his bottle of insulin. So he took what insulin he had left, and he was trying to ration it over the weekend to get through. His doctor was gone. It was a holiday weekend, trying to get through to Tuesday. And unfortunately, he didn't make it, and he passed away. So They did this law first. They called it Kevin's Law down, I believe it was Indiana, if I said Ohio. And it was great to be able to see that fix in Michigan, and just a common sense thing that's good for the people as a whole.
Yeah. Well, good. And so one of the things I know you are newer to representing the Davison area, but you've been through this. You live pretty close to it, so I'm sure you've been in Davison at some point. But what is something that
Thanks.
you have learned to enjoy, or that you've noticed about the community that you like about visiting the Davison area?
It's just like every other area. It's the people that live there. You guys have good people there. I had office hours just here 2 weeks ago, and at MD's up north of town a little bit. I think that's in Richfield Township, isn't it? I believe it's out of
Yep,
Davison, but
it's just right inside Richfield Township, so you're right there.
yeah,
But you
okay.
know what? Everybody goes there, so it's a
Okay,
great
everybody
location
goes
to
there.
have
Yeah,
it.
well, it's a great place, and they treat us really well. But yeah, it's the people, and Davison. Yeah, I've been to Davison over the years many times, and go to church. I'm a Catholic guy. We go to church over there sometimes, over at St. John's in Davison, and Whitey's, of course. Who hasn't gone to Whitey's? Gone to
Oh,
Whitey's since I was a little tiny kid.
oh,
So we'd go to Whitey's because we could eat all the fish we wanted. So,
that's
yeah,
right. I think it's a staple in the community. You know,
yeah.
if you haven't been to Whitey's, I don't think you can say you've been to Davison or lived in Davison. So,
That's right. And you guys have got a new gig there too with Menards. Menards is a big deal too. That brings
oh
people
yeah,
from all over to go to Menards over that way too as well. So, you know,
I'm sure with projects on the farm or anything like that, you've had to visit Menards a few times. So,
absolutely.
Kevin,
well,
I got a question for you. I grew up in Lapeer, and so one of the interesting things is, the town square has moved from what we would consider the proverbial physical town square to Facebook. And so we have all these different disjointed Facebook groups here or there all across the web. Well, over in the Lapeer groups, I'm hearing just an absolute astounding amount of what I would consider rumor mills concerning hundreds of acres of property south of I-69 on the west side of 24, like across from Racy's new shop. Do you have any knowledge of any of the developments or anything that's going on in that area? Because I am getting inundated with friends, families, professionals that are like, what is going on over there? Because everybody's talking about it. I haven't heard anything specific, but I figure I'd go straight to the source if you happen to know anything.
I was brought into this about 6 weeks ago, and so we do have a developer that has got a purchase agreement drawn up to purchase about 525 acres, and it's actually both sides behind Racy's and the friendly Chrysler dealership there wraps around them. It's all that property on that side. That's actually, I think, the larger piece, and then it's also the west side of the road over to Baldwin Road. About 525 acres. If you've heard the rumors, they think it's Disney. Disney is not coming to Lapeer. It's
oh
not
man.
Disney. It is it's actually a private developer that is purchasing this property, and he wants to put in more. It's more of a sporting complex than anything, but it is big. It is big, and it could be a big draw to the community. Davison will be impacted by this as well. Some people are not, the small communities like Davison is and like Lapeer is are not real. I should say a lot of people are not real happy about the idea of something like this coming to town. But it is not Disney. It's private investors. I'm impressed with the fact that these guys have gotten to this point and trying to do something of this magnitude and not had to have any, state or federal money involvement, which is a phenomenal thing. So I give them a lot of credit for that. I've got concerns like everybody else of what it'll do to our communities, what the difference will make. But I just want to set the record straight. It is not Disney. It is a private entity. They are looking at a regional outfit here that would do more sporting than anything, but it'll have its own hotels. It'll have its own restaurants. It'll have a brewery in there. And even some rides that are year-round rides. The difference between this and Disney, that it would be set up in a way where you come in and you use what you want to do there, you do there. So you can go to the restaurants, or you can go to the rides, or you can go to the sporting events, but you pay for each one individually. It's not a gated community. And the guy, they would like to set these up. Their thoughts are long range is regionally across the country and create a sports thing that people can travel around in. So, you know, in some ways it could be good for the community. I think the biggest concerns is the traffic and the amount of people and the difference it brings to. I mean, let's face it, Davison's I think a conservative community like Lapeer is. They like their smallness, they like their down home feeling, and it's the fear of the unknown. And so we'll see if it really takes off or not. I know that they're they're working on it still. Thought they were going to close on some of the property here a few weeks ago, and they haven't yet. But you know, what I am impressed with is that that's the American way. Somebody has a dream, they found the way to raise the money to do it, and they're trying to get it done. And so I wish them well, and we'll see where it all turns out.
That's amazing. And thank you for cluing us in. I heard Disney, I heard a casino, which, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be upset about a casino, but a sports complex. I've got young kids. I think that something like that could be great for the community, but I do understand the wariness of the general public, of, like you stated, the unknown. So I appreciate you cluing us in with what information you do know. Thank you.
I've heard the same, and that's what I wanted to make sure that people realized. And part of the reason why Disney, I think, got brought in is because the guy that's put this portfolio together and put this package together is working with a lot of former Disney employees and Disney people that helped develop Disney, is helping him do this. And so that could be part of it. But I think the guy's heart is in the right place. Depending on what the community, you know, there's a lot of people that have property that back up to it, or they're very concerned. You know, I had a guy tell me, well, I don't want to listen to fireworks going off every night, 5 nights a week. Well, that's what Disney does. That doesn't mean they're going to do that here. So, and they're going to have to go through the right processes and stuff. So we'll learn more, but the rumor mill gets going, especially in these small towns, as you know, Johnny.
Yes, it was. I received my third message just today, right before I hopped on this call with you guys. So I wanted to see if maybe our good friend, Mr. Daley, had any clues that we could give the community at large to maybe assuage some of those fears. So we do appreciate you giving us what you know.
What the developer's original plan was, he really wanted to do this in Carroll. But Carroll, you know, doesn't fit the realm with a I-69 corridor and the M24 corridor. I mean, you figure where they're looking at that property, and to have 525 acres available in one spot that close to the expressway on the M24 corridor, there, you know, you can go downtown Detroit in an hour from Lapeer. You can go north to Saginaw and Bay City in an hour and a half. You can go to Port Huron in an hour. You can go to Flint in 20 minutes. I mean, it's centrally located in this whole side of the state, and it's something that they think will work. And so I guess we're watching it close, and we're going to see what the community's reactions are to it. And I'm not either for it or against it. I'm just watching it and see what happens. So
that's amazing. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm somebody that I appreciate the capitalistic nature of those that want to put themselves out there and make things happen. And you know what? Hopefully the community can embrace it, and it will be a positive thing for everyone involved.
And I told one individual that owns some property right next to that moved up to get away from he moved up from Lake Orion when Lake Orion started getting so busy, and he was very upset because he said he doesn't want to have that all built. I said, well, you know, are you in favor of property rights? And he said, well, of course I am. And I said, well, that property has been for sale for a long time. You know, you could have bought it. And I get that. You know, he probably doesn't have the revenue to buy it. And I said, I understand his concern, but the point is, we can't falter this guy for taking the initiative to do what he's going to do and move forward, because I'm a big believer in personal property rights, and I'm a landowner myself. And I tell people when they tell me, well, if you split up your farm, I'm going to move out of here. Well, you know, why don't you pay the property taxes for me this year then? And I haven't got a taker on that yet.
Yeah, I agree with Johnny. It's always interesting to see how communities grow and what type of investment either small businesses or large businesses are willing to put into a community. And I think, I mean, like anyone, there's always going to be people that aren't happy with it, but there's also going to be that group that's extremely excited to see that growth and addition. And I think we have to realize that there's a lot going on in our region of the state that people want to be here and enjoy life, and they just want to keep building into that. So I'm going to be really fascinated to kind of see how that develops along. I mean, it's so close to us that it's going to be a nice thing to drive by and see what type of progress they make.
And see if it actually goes on. One more thing, when you asked me about what I enjoyed about Davison, you guys have got a close knit community similar to Lapeer, and your parade that you put on during the Festival of Flags and that type of stuff. You can see it in the community, and it's fun to be involved in those parades. And I want to mention it, and feel free to how you guys use this in this podcast, but please feel free to give my contact information out to anybody over there. Office number, email number, all that stuff. And if anybody has any questions or concerns, give us a call. We'll do what we can to help.
Yeah, and I completely agree. I think that's the best way for people to really learn how to do it. I mean, Kevin, if you're good, I mean, be honest, I have your phone number memorized because I used to work in that office years ago. So, do you care if I just share the phone number of people, and that way, in case they would like to reach out with questions or
Absolutely.
information?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, if
Yeah.
anyone that wants to reach out to Senator Daley's office, give him a call at 517-373-1777. They great staff. They'll be really excited to talk to you and hopefully answer all your questions. But be sure to be nice and polite to them, and they will definitely go out of their way to make your day hopefully a little bit better. But Kevin, one thing that we always like to end with is, through your years as a farmer and involved in different local community events and levels of government, what's an interesting or funny story that you can share with us about your time being a public servant?
There's probably more of them that I can name off the top of my head, but it's uh, part of it is the interesting thing is when you meet so many people in these jobs over the years, and you'd be amazed at how many people will call you, and then they'll say, "Well, I've been to your farm before," when you've been around for so long, and at our farm, we used to bring. When we had dairy cattle there, I used to give tours. My dad and I would have tours out there, and we'd bring the kids out from the different levels of grade schools all over Lapeer County, and for tours of the farm, and let them milk a cow, and just take them through and show them around the farm. And it was important for kids, I thought, at that time, like we do over here in Lansing, bring the kids over here and show them around. It's important
Yeah.
for kids to learn this stuff. We did that on the farm too. And what's really interesting and funny is when now today, and you come over here and here's a school teacher coming in from a classroom that, you know what, I've been to your farm before. I milked a cow there once, back years ago when I came out for a tour as a first grader at Mayfield School in Lapeer. And so it's and you run into those kind of people that after you get in these jobs and your name's out there, and then they start putting two and two together and thinking, oh, I've been to that farm before, and I've been to that person's place before. So it's that's an interesting part of the whole procedure.
No, that is great. I know that was one thing I always loved about Lansing, was seeing the school groups come and visit and just see what those kids are fascinated by, everything that goes on, how large the buildings are, and all that. So I think anytime someone can learn about something, especially being on a farm, I mean, I'm sure majority of the
Well,
population
and
of kids have never had that chance.
well, and Travis, it's important for them to see us in person. They're working for them, and let them know that we are just regular people that get up every day. And I like to tell people we get yelled at by our wives just like everybody else does, and we have to put our boots on one leg at a time, and you get yelled at because we don't do things, walk in the house with our dirty feet or something. We're all human beings, and we're the same way. So it's and the majority by far in the legislature are good people, here for the right reason, different reasons, not always the same reason, but they're here for the right reasons, and that's usually the right reason in their world. So, yeah.
Well, good. Well, Kevin, I can't thank you enough for taking some time today, and it's great to see that our state senator is in our communities, has a great background, and has a great staff that's willing to spend some time with people that want to call or visit. So, Senator Daley, thank you so much for joining us on the Community Collective podcast.
One more thing I'll mention, Travis, and with that phone number that you gave out, if there's any businesses there that would like to show off their business and have me swing by and meet them, I would be glad to do that as well. Have them call me, any of your members or anything, that we can stop by and
Oh
take a
yeah.
tour of their facilities or something. We're always interested in doing that as well.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, no, I think it's a wonderful idea. I think that's always important too. So it's businesses in the community mean so much, and having someone visit them and learn, that's the main idea.
Absolutely. So
Yeah, Kevin, I would also just like to echo those sentiments. It's nice to put a face. Well, this is going to be a podcast, so it's audio only. So how about we put an ear to a voice? And in this instance,
yeah.
it's just nice to know somebody that they understand our community. Sometimes you guys, as far as politicians, feel a little bit larger than life at times, and there may be a disconnection there. But obviously, having community outreach available at MDs and talking about Whitey's and going to St. John's, that's where my boys play basketball. There's a lot to be said about somebody that is actually involved in the community. And I do truly appreciate that, because Lord knows we need good politicians in place. And I am not volunteering to be one. So you keep up the good work, and we'll keep on trucking.
Okay. It sounds great.
Hey, thank you, Kevin.
Okay. It's good to see you. Good to
Thank
meet
you.
you both.
Yep.
Or good to
You
see
guys-
you, Travis, and good to meet you, Johnny. Okay.
Absolutely.
much.
Have a great day, everyone.
Have a good
Thank
day,
you.
Kevin.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Well, there you have it. Senator Kevin Daley lets us know Disney is not coming to Lapeer. While Disney was a little bit of a reach for me, I did think that the casino did have some legs behind it, because I have heard rumblings of that in the past. So it's probably best for my pocketbook that the casino is not coming into that area, but a sports complex that sounds like it's going to be lots of different things in place, as far as some type of attractions, whether it's going to be the brewery, the restaurants, there's going to be hotels, just the ability for in-state, out-of-state tournaments, as far as sporting events showing up there, if that's even what the final end use is. Regardless, I'm very excited, and I'm so appreciative to Senator Daley for taking the time to talk with us today. I hope you found this information valuable. The Community Collective podcast is just here to showcase things that are going on in and around our community, and we so appreciate every listen, every subscribe, every like. So definitely let us know who you'd like to hear from. And with that, this is Johnny B. Good with the Community Collective podcast. We'll see you next time.